Good morning and welcome back to the SMITE Circuit Playoffs. We've got our EU, SCC, and SOC still battling it out to see which of the teams will be making it to the group's qualifier stage all the way in January. And to do that, we got to go through 8 different teams in this elimination bracket in these group stages in order to try and figure out what are going to be the 2 SCC or SOC teams that move on here from Europe. And then we're going to come back and do it all again next week for North America. I'm Jim. I got Mifflin joining me here on the desk. So get ready to hop into our first set of the day and jump into some of this SMITE circuit play. We had some great matchups yesterday. We got some great matchups today. We can take a look at our brackets for starting over in Group B. That way you can see what you can look forward to still for the remainder through. Remember, what we're aiming for each of these is get 2 teams from each of these 2 groups, Group B and Group A. We'll jump over to Group C later on in the weekend, and then we'll pull 2 of the winners from that stage to move on to face off against our SPL teams. Here in Group B, we had the Scares and the Penguins yesterday. The Scares with a 2-1 win. Niflheim Wargs a 2-0 over the Tartarus Titans. Now puts us with the Solar Scarabs and Niflheim Wargs on the upper side of this group bracket. Penguins and Titans on elimination set down over on the lower end of that one. Or not elimination, but waiting to see exactly what continues beyond there. So we'll have to see winner of the Scarabs and Warg set will qualify up to Group C, and then we'll be awaiting the winner from the remaining that kind of trickle through there. And we can make our way over towards Group A here in just a moment to see some of the other teams that we'll still have. Because remember, that was only 4 of the 8 teams here. Now we got Hex Mambo and Yodie Gang started off yesterday. Hex Mambo a 2-0, along with the Olympus Bolts, who got a 2-1 over the Yomi Tanuki, which puts the Mambo and the Bolts now on a qualifying set for Group C. Yodie Gang and Yomi Tanuki, though, will be our first matchup of today that we'll get to see and figure out which of these 2 teams gets to move on a little bit further on in this bracket. It was a tough matchup for both these ones yesterday. For Yodie Gang having to go against the #1 SCC team, Mifflin, not an easy task for them. The Yomi Tanuki put up a great fight against the Olympus Bolts as well, but now they both meet themselves here in this matchup.
And I expect this to be a little bit more evenly matched. Yesterday, all those matchups were a bit more SCC-centric. SOC, of course, coming from the lower bracket, lower seed, lower tournament, has to have a much more difficult time. But now that they've started to develop the bracket going forward, these teams are start getting closer and closer as we develop. So that means better SMITE, better viewing experience. Don't go anywhere.
And there's still some very powerful names really on both these rosters. In fact, we can take a look at these 2 rosters if you missed up anything just yesterday. Over on the side of the Yomi Tanuki, OgiBre, FrenchEmperor, Pikarino, Calvìn, and StreakUp make up this squad. Over there for Yodie Gang, however, you got Seagyll, BOBA, PrettyPriMe, LaRevolution, and SunTzuDisciple.
I'm not going to let you do my boy Revolution like that.
Oh, LaRevolution.
There it is. Revolution.
My mind saw Lair, and I'm like, oh, cool, Lair. And I'm like, wait a sec, hold on. Let me
That's how you spell Lair?
Well, there's probably not the actual full way to spell Lair. Look, I saw L-A-R, so it'd be LaRevolution would be the other way that I would go. Look, it's early in the morning. My brain's not fully kicking into high gear just yet.
It's 11 a.m.
Yeah, that's
early for a gamer.
That's an early for a gamer, man. Now, with these 2 teams out there, well, let's see which of them can come out on top. And really talk about this Yomi Tanuki. I like the pacing that this Yomi Tanuki game was able to set just yesterday. This Aphrodite-Giannis duo that they kind of brought back out here, giving some of these kind of hard carries with the Thor FrenchEmperor. Love what we were seeing out of them. It was whenever we made the change from that semi-global style of Thor over into more of some of the other more standard style of assassins that we've been kind of seeing that really kind of felt like they were missing a little bit of that extra initiation a little bit later in the game. Things like this Nemesis didn't quite work out entirely well for them. But other than that, I mean, I love seeing what we were getting out of the Giannis yesterday.
And we know that FrenchEmperor has had the Nemesis in the God Pool for a very long time. It's one of his favorite picks, so not a surprise to me to see him going towards it, but I think I tend to agree in that I would have liked to see a composition built around it. What they brought, though, that was incredibly strong was their teamwork, and the same could be said on the other side, Hex Mambo versus Yodie Gang. This is one where Yodie Gang had perhaps the most difficult matchup that anyone could expect from the European side of things. Hex Mambo, of course, expected to go on an absolute tear throughout the bracket, but I would argue at points of this game, Yodie Gang looked very good. It was just that stone wall that was Johnny out of the jungle that was impossible for Yodie Gang to get through. This time around, that's not to say that their opponents aren't also going to have a very talented jungler, but there can only be one Johnny, so I expect Yodie Gang to have a better showing.
Yeah, and Yodie Gang having a pretty strong and tenured player through their mid lane might be able to help them in some of these matchups too. If you are an old head in SMITE, you probably remember the name PrettyPriMe, seeing him down here on an SOC squad, see if maybe he can bring his team to a little bit of victory. We can jump into the picks and bans, though, for game number 1 between Yomi Tanuki and Yodie Gang, and see what priority kind of shakes up here for day number 2 of our event. Still been seeing a lot of similarities to what we saw kind of at the tail end of the SPL, Raijin, Opwash, Poseidon, whenever it kind of comes to these solo lane style of mages. We've been seeing high priorities for things like Yemoja, Athena out of that support role, and some of your standard hunters, things like the Chernobog have kind of been running the top. But one thing I got to point out, especially in our last set that we saw yesterday, the Maman Brigitte didn't get through very often, but when she did, especially when we saw it in a player like Worst Turtle's hands, we saw just how good that god was. I think it was a 5-0 start in 5 minutes of the game. Don't imagine we'll be seeing too much of that god, as we already do see it banned away by Yodie Gang, and Yomi Tanuki take the Raijin first pick.
Yeah, I think Maman's actually in an interesting position right now, and that we've seen it reflected in the meta of the SPL and the last week of SPL that we got to watch, and now here in the SCC. Some teams can just dominate with this pick. Some players are really good with it too. Other teams and other players tend to really struggle. It's that up and down of Maman Brigitte. We have to figure out that meta game of, is this a god I need to dedicate a ban towards? But I imagine in a best-of-3 situation, you don't exactly have a throwaway game, which is why we see your top 3 ban now. We've seen the upper end. You just have to assume that your opponent has that, and you have to take it away.
Well, looks to be double mage for both these two squads. Raijin, Kukulkan now for Yomi Tanuki, and then a Sobek for a bit of your front line in that support role. Hachiman, Thoth, and Morgan Le Fay round out the top 3 of Yodie Gang, still going for the double mage for themselves as well. Now as we jump into the second wave of bans, gotta imagine maybe some jungle or ADC bans potentially could be going through for a couple of these squads. You do see the Anhur and Naja against the Yomi Tanuki, and then Khepri Aphrodite banning away some of the supports that worked over pretty well for some of the other squads over the course of day number 1, and then a Ratatoskr to kind of jump things out here. I'm surprised we've been seeing maybe less prio on Rat compared to what we were seeing kind of at the tail end of SPL's time.
I mean, Rat's just incredibly strong, and I agree. I think we should see more of him. The global presence, the scaling in the late game, the adaptability of, well, I could go bruiser if I need to. I could go full damage. I can go crit, even in extenuating circumstances. So I think Rat in a very good spot. Surprised that he makes it through that second phase of bans, and clearly Yodie Gang, Fulcrum come in, having a whole lot of fun with this pick, 4th overall. And then the Maui to round these things out. I was expecting something with a little bit more confirmable CC, something that would have a little bit more AoE CC, and Maui's got some of it with the ultimate, but when we're talking about single target CC, it doesn't get much better than Maui. He's got 2 pulls, a stun as well, and you're setting up for things like chain CC from Hachiman, or you're setting up for the ultimate from Thoth. I like how he plays in, but I was expecting something a little bit easier to execute on.
So Yomi Gang, or Yodie Gang and Yomi Tanuki, wow, I'm going to mess that up probably at least one more time today, given potentially how long these sets could be going out between these two squads here. But Yomi Tanuki going with the Ullr and the Susano for their final 2 lock-ins there. So maybe a less traditional style of Hunter, and maybe a bit more burst style out of that one. So let's see how these two teams will square off as we get ready to jump it over to game number 1. We'll throw it over to our casters.
That's right, thank you, J-Mac from the desk. It's Festive Friday, and that means we have a perfect gift trolley. And that gift is a do-or-die matchup between the Yomi Tanuki and Yodie Gang. It all comes down to this for one of these teams, unfortunately. It feels early in the weekend, but I mean, this is just how this type of competition goes.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, what we've been seeing recently has been a lot of pressure towards duo lane, right? These ADCs have been able to absolutely pop off and carry their teams. So I'll be looking at StreakUp and SunTzu for sure. But when you see the Ullr in the lane, that makes things a little bit more interesting, because it's not as if Ullr has that hard carry potential early on. He used to be this bruiser hunter that could just come out of the gate swinging with Bluestone. Takes a little bit to get online. Maybe we'll see the French Emperor head over to left lane and try and play through duo, but we also got to talk about these mages, man. PrettyPriMe on the Thoth, Pikarino on the Kukulkan. Both have so much burst damage potential. I'll be looking towards them as well, towards those objectives.
Yeah, volatility from the mid lane, right? Both mages, of course, with fantastic secure, but the thing with fantastic secure is it's also fantastic steal potential too. So we will be down to both these teams to really control the space around these objectives. But, you know, we discuss a lot of pressure in the duo lane. Of course, that's because that is where the Gold Fury is located. But out of these two teams, do you think either one is particularly looking at this Gold Fury early on?
It just depends. It doesn't really seem like they have the immediate burn. They just have that burst, right? So it's not as if it's going to be, hey, we can burn it down really quickly, and then we have got the Cuckoo ult, or we have the Thoth ult. I'm thinking just playing safe for now is going to be the call, but look at this aggression.
Now there's the flip coming out from Calvin right into a volley and bladed arrow. Who needs to hit an axe when you got someone setting it up for you? But I mean, that's just what SunTzuDisciple would have to contend with, apart from the fact that StreakUp's already out of mana and not really got much in the way of bringing it back. So FrenchEmperor making that rotation over, but BOBA gets a stun onto Pikarino. PrettyPriMe dashes in. As the evade and punish.
no
One
way.
shot, two shot. Oh, BOBA is actually the one in danger. Pikarino picks up first blood.
Did Prime miss? I think he missed one of the shots of Hieroglyphic Assault, and Pikarino just turns and hits the Zephyr just to guarantee the first blood. I thought worst case scenario that was a trade. Either way, huge turnaround there from Pikarino. That's going to be the first blood, and he saves his life. Man, that's rough for Yodie Gang. They really wanted that first blood.
Not the start you're looking for, right? Of course, coming in as the underdogs. Now, Yodie Gang won't feel the pressure of that. They will feel like they want to be here. They want to win this game. If you want to get further, you have to get through the Yomi Tanuki. And I'm sure the Yodie Gang will feel happy to do so. But falling down first blood like that, especially if it's potentially a drop kill from PrettyPriMe there, it did look close on that final shot. My eyes were drawn to BOBA. Man, it can't feel good to fall down like that. But at least, you know, what we wanted to see from these SOC teams coming in is that they're more than happy to be aggressive and not let the SEC teams dictate to them.
Exactly. You got to bring the pressure when the pressure is there, and right now that's exactly where it is for the Tanuki. They're looking towards this blue buff invade. Yodie Gang doesn't have level 4, but it looks like trying to go for FrenchEmperor. It's going to be a 50-50, but can anyone die here?
Well, blue buff secured at least, but Seagyll needs to help BOBA out. BOBA falls down again for the jet stream. That's actually OgiBre hits level 5, immediately pops the ultimate. Look at all the damage that this Raijin's able to do. Seagyll's so low, won't actually fall down. Oh my goodness, actually the tower deals it right back. It's an even trade for damage, but the all-important kill goes the way of the Tanuki.
Yeah, you could tell. FrenchEmperor is like, bro, I'm not diving that tower. Do not step forward. And OgiBre's like, I'm going for it, man. I'm going to try to go for this solo kill. Couldn't find it, but you pull the beads off of Seagyll, which means next time you head over to solo lane, could be in a little bit of trouble. Got to save that ultimate for CC immunity because FrenchEmperor can get there at any moment. We talked about how much CC the Tanuki have as well. Calvìn and StreakUp, very easy to combo the pluck into the axe. And that's what's been happening pretty consistently here. That's why StreakUp's been able to get over to level 5 because of all this pressure they have.
Yeah, Calvìn on this Sobek, of course, able to set up for quite literally everyone on the team. Pluck into everything that the Yomi Tanuki have is just pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see how that will transition over when, you know, these supports rotate over to the middle lane. Who will be the target? You know, Thoth, PrettyPriMe on this Thoth, not the easiest target to pluck. Of course, has some long range, has some decent escapability themselves. So I'm not sure if Calvìn will be looking to that. Does actually have the Blink Rune picked up, though, already. So, again, we saw this yesterday. So somewhat of an old school style of Sobek play. But, I mean, right now it seems to suit him.
It certainly does. If you can find beads down, which, honestly, so far, in only 5 minutes into this game, I've seen a lot of beads burn. That Blink Pluck can be the easiest way to initiate a kill, and Calvìn is going to be on point with them essentially all game. Of course, it's not as if Calvin's going to rotate over to solo lane in 60 seconds. A Seagyll will be just fine. But I got my eyes on Prime, and I definitely have my eyes on SunTzu because he's been plucked a few times in this lane so far. But considering how early it is, Pikarino picking up first blood and then the FrenchEmperor grabbing a kill as well, you know, the Tanuki have the ability to get aggressive, and that's what we've been seeing. The FrenchEmperor is not in his side of the jungle, right? He's trying to get towards that blue buff.
Oh, wow. Scrap over the shield buff. Calvìn in some trouble. There's SunTzuDisciple riding on in. Gets the wall flag down, but does not connect with its StreakUp. There's another set of beads. Does not matter. BOBA picks up the first kill for the Yodie Gang.
Wow, Calvìn got real low there, and it seemed like StreakUp was trying to take some aggro and bait for his support to get out. But BOBA decided there was someone else he had in mind, and it was going to be StreakUp. Takes that kill and pulls the beads down. Pikarino makes the rotation over, trying to save his ADC's purple buff. But here comes BOBA. He's not going to give this one up for free.
Not giving up for free, but taking a ton of damage in the process. This is the shell coming out from LaRevolution. Woo, Spirit of the Nine Winds splits the uprights. Pikarino may be in some danger, but LaRevolution has used that solar swing and might be a bit cut off. Maybe not committing too much damage here. Actually plucked through the tornado. It's a bit of safety there coming out from Calvìn. And somehow these supports just keep getting away with this. They just wander wherever they want to go. Don't seem to get punished enough for it. Maybe now finally Solar Swing comes through, but the teleport is good, and that is Pikarino. Sorry, that is French Emperor coming back and picking up another kill for the Tanuki.
Yeah, LaRevolution, I don't think he was ever making it out of there, but did want to stall a bit while the rest of his team was able to escape, so not a bad play. But the Susano is growing into a problem. Already 2-0, 6 minutes in. You know, he's a character that wants to get on the fast track to late game, wants to get itemization online as quickly as possible. Giving him 2 kills this early can be a scary thought, considering how much pressure he can output, especially later on. So I've got my eyes on BOBA, trying to, you know, keep tabs on French Emperor. The good news is he doesn't have beads, right? So there is still kill potential if BOBA and Prime can set up for an attack, something like that. But just like I said, Calvìn blinks in, pulls the beads. Should be fine here unless the ult comes through.
Ooh, there is the final judgment, but extra protections, of course, coming out. BOBA goes on to Pikarino. French Emperor, though, on the backside, has caught PrettyPriMe and has got this killing spree already. Only 7 minutes into this game, and that problem is starting to build into a big problem.
It's not stopping anytime soon, and I don't love the idea to go for Calvìn there. I didn't see an opportunity to find a kill, especially when BOBA goes up into the sky with no mana. Even if you're landing through the cosmos, does not seem like a kill would come through, and PrettyPriMe learned that the hard way. Did hit the ultimate, sure, but that's a tanky Sobek, and he was not able to find the kill and ends up losing his life for it. So now the Tanuki have a commanding lead for this early on in the game, under 8 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised. We talked about the Gold Fury pressure. I wouldn't be surprised if they went in for a pull. Not necessarily soon, but before 12 minutes. They've got that Cuckoo ultimate. Prime's beads are down for 2 minutes. That means the main target that will be trying to steal this objective is pretty easy to kill if Calvìn or French Emperor can connect with him.
Yeah, and I would expect to see French Emperor spending a lot of time around this mid lane over the next few moments. But at the moment for the Yodie Gang, I don't think it's too difficult to come back into this. It's pretty much just French Emperor causing you problems, and if you do manage to pick up a kill on them, it will then be, you know, some big shutdown gold in the pocket, very beneficial to make an attempt on this Susano's life. I do wonder if BOBA will be the one to look for it, or if they'll just hope to find success elsewhere. But BOBA now all the way on the right-hand side, looking for the success and succeeding in the success. As on the left-hand side, French Emperor wants onto this dueling.
He certainly does, setting up a bit of an ambush here. Calvìn misses the pluck. That should be the end of the scrap, but Purple Buff is the target they are after, and they'll take it. Purple Buff invaded. Calvìn gets to pick that one up. And when you notice that BOBA's in right lane, OgiBre's dead, you've got Cuckoo ult and Prime's beads are down. I can't see why Purple Buff is more valuable than a possible Gold Fury there, unless they're just worried that they can't burn it quickly, and that could be the case. I think StreakUp is actually sitting on a lot of gold. My man just has Transcendence and has been farming for a minute. Yeah, 1,300. I guess Tier 2 hi-rez is in the future, and he says, we don't have that much DPS, no reason to go for a risky call like that.
Yeah, and I think if you were to take the mids out of the equation, right, you know, you're looking at what else is the best secure on the map, and I think it actually comes from the supports. I think the Lurking of the Waters or the Landfall would be there. So I think if LaRevolution is more than aware that a Gold Fury attempt is coming through, even just using the Landfall to pull the Yomi Tanuki off of the objective after they've been DPSing it for 45 seconds, that would be enough of a deterrence for me as well. So I can understand why they'd not go for that just yet, especially when they are, you know, doing okay. They don't really need to make the risky play yet. Oh, but that is still a risky play. French Emperor in some trouble.
Oh.
BOBA does manage to dodge the Spirit of the Nine Winds. Pikarino backs up French Emperor. Hold on, might not be done just yet. Through the Cosmos comes out. Oh, BOBA might regret that decision, though. The Zephyr slow is just so much. Now French Emperor slap fight with LaRevolution. BOBA plucked in. StreakUp leaping over the wall. Locks down this Ratatoskr. Calvìn claims the kill and again goes the way of the Tanuki.
I don't know if they're done. Calvìn plucks him back in through the NATO. LaRevolution needs to juke a Zephyr just to make it out, but Pikarino, he misses, and he will be able to make it out. Calvìn doesn't have the CDR to go for another pluck. That's a big deal. Still finds a lot of kills, and that shutdown on the French Emperor would have been massive. That's a 4-0 Susano, but just could not find it. BOBA wasn't able to predict the jet stream there, which means you can't land the ultimate, you can't find the kill, and Yodie Gang, I mean, I'd say they made it out lucky, the fact that LaRevolution lives, but still, a lot more kills going the way of French Emperor.
Yeah, more and more onto the Susano. And sometimes you don't really want to stack all your eggs in one basket. You know, you'd like to diversify exactly where the kills are going. Probably the main exception to that would be your jungler, because the jungler can input this pressure all over the map whenever needed. You know, we've seen OgiBre take a spillover on this right-hand side, but not a lot of pressure coming from FrenchEmperor. Oh, the CC combo's pretty good. Great fear, but not enough damage. Now here is the FrenchEmperor to disperse some of that pressure. Just dishing it out, though. Not really wanting to commit too hard. But that's OgiBre getting out alive.
Yeah, FrenchEmperor had the ult, but decided against going in there. No beads, no blink, no problem. Just decided to retreat. And, I mean, OgiBre living, that's the win, right? Even if you can't find a counter gank, you keep your Raijin alive, doesn't lose too much farm in the process, and you sort of scare them off from diving. So don't hate that call. FrenchEmperor is definitely dancing on a ward, so no sneaky plays will be happening on the right side of the map. But now we've hit that 12-minute mark where Beacon spawns in. Pikarino, first one on the scene, but LaRevolution immediately deters him from trying to cap it. Looks like just mid and support will stick around for now, but junglers are close by and want to get involved.
Thoth is one of the most difficult gods to deal with in this scenario, though. When you got this long-range ability and you can't just poke and prod. However, looks like Yodie Gang don't feel like they can step up to it. Not enough damage coming out, and the threat of Calvìn with these plucks that has been absolutely on point with, just a bit too high, and StreakUp really showing the damage potential here. OgiBre again under more pressure, just the darts enough to trigger the taiko drums, but still this Raijin stays alive, and maybe now the Tanuki will look at the Gold Fury.
All right, LaRevolution, the best steal attempt until PrettyPriMe gets in range, and he's around, but here comes FrenchEmperor trying to fend. You gotta just go for the Cuckoo ult here, but it looks like they're hesitating.
Well, they're hesitating, not sure where to go. There's the Yomi Tanuki, secure the objective. LaRevolution, too late for the steal, and FrenchEmperor takes down PrettyPriMe. From bad to worse for the Yodie Gang, and it's really all in the image of Yomi Tanuki. This is probably exactly how they planned this game to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's as easy as it gets, right? There's no way you got to worry about any confirmation there where FrenchEmperor is just going to 100-0 Prime before he even gets his ult off. That was through Aegis, by the way. He dropped a relic.
Yep.
It simply does not matter, and that's the benefit of a fed Susano. Pikarino just goes for the confirmation. A little bit early, doesn't really matter. Not as if LaRevolution has a lot of damage built. And that's going to be the gold and a pick. Looks like maybe a kill on a SunTzu if they can find it, but you'd need a lucky axe, and he's not going to even get in range. So Yomi Tanuki take their small wins and back up. Pyromancer is available, though, and that's where you got to look your eyes to next. If you are the Tanuki and you're trying to push your lead, you don't want to get stagnant here. You don't want to stop and just go back to your lanes and start farming away. You got to look to push even further when you have these big leads, and I'm thinking that Pyromancer would be the next place to go.
Yeah, it's actually notable that both side lanes for the Yodie Gang actually doing okay. You know, Seagyll on the Morgan Le Fay parity in levels, and similarly SunTzuDisciple on the left-hand side. Not actually that far behind. It's now ticked over to be a 2-level lead for StreakUp, so we are getting to that point. But it hasn't been a major problem for this Hachiman, who obviously going to cede the pressure to an Anhur in the solo laning phase. But FrenchEmperor under some pressure from BOBA, has the backup from OgiBre. Seagyll goes in. Let's go the runes, but BOBA wants to go in. Health bar very low, and there is the shutdown. Totally worth it for BOBA to get. Ratatoskr with a chunk of gold in the pocket.
Yeah, you would take that every day of the week. That 5-0 shutdown is a big start, but Yomi Tanuki, you're still trying to chase. I was keeping my eye on Calvin's blink timer, but he was in combat, so could not step forward. And Prime had his beads available just in case. It was close, though. I mean, FrenchEmperor immediately dropped the Typhoon, said, hey, I know you're going to land on me. I'll try and turn this fight, but just did not have the damage, and the beads were already pulled from earlier on. So that's a great rotation from Seagyll, just helping out, making sure not only to pull the beads, but that BOBA can confirm that kill, because that was absolutely who you needed to focus out on the Tanuki. Now that that's happened, time to catch up, right? Farm game, not as if the Yodie Gang are going to go in for any sort of objective pulls, but just play as you have been, get your last hits on minions, and try to catch back up.
Yeah, you've proven that the FrenchEmperor can bleed. You know, it's not like the Susano is totally unkillable. Sometimes just seeing a guy on the other team running the show and you can't even kill him once, it just demoralizes you. But at least now, the Yodie Gang, and in particular BOBA, knows that they can pick off this Susano. And actually, BOBA on this Ratatoskr, 3 kills, 4 deaths. Not the worst news in the world. Going aggressive onto StreakUp. This is where you can put out your impact as a Ratatoskr. Picking up a kill for SunTzuDisciple. All of a sudden, the tides are changing, but this Pyromancer being started by the Tanuki.
And it is. Prime's charging up the ultimate. Goes a little bit early. Tanuki do confirm, but Pikarino takes a chunk out of his HP bar. Probably want to retreat in that case. But look at this. Boba's in the air.
Oh, BOBA's in the air. PrettyPriMe dashing forward. They know they want this kill, and they're going to get this kill. Now, BOBA in some trouble from OgiBre, but even more trouble for PrettyPriMe. Gets looped up by the Lurking in the Waters. BOBA has to dash to retreat, but OgiBre has the taiko drums. Can't actually connect with enough damage, but FrenchEmperor can. Sweeping up yet another 2 kills for themselves. Calvìn gets a pluck late. Beads out from Seagyll. Goes up into the runes. Fire Giant wants to get involved. FrenchEmperor still wants to get involved. Great double stun from LaRevolution. Seagyll's out. Calvìn wants to continue on. Does not manage to hit the pluck, and it looks like this fight will peter out. More aggression, though, from the Yodie Gang.
Yeah, needed that pluck to connect. Seagyll couldn't find it. I don't even know if he was dead if he gets plucked, honestly. So much tank stats on this Morgan Le Fay, and, of course, the regen, the healing that you can provide with that Vampiric Shout and Pythags. Going to be just fine in that regard. But you get some more kills on both squads. This is an all-out brawl. It doesn't seem like Yodie Gang is going to, fear from going in for an engagement even when they're a bit behind XP-wise. And remember, this all starts from the Pyro pull, where PrettyPriMe is able to hit a nice ult onto Pikarino and say, hey, I didn't steal the objective, but BOBA, now you've got an opening. Ends up chasing in, and then that fight just goes all the way through Fire Giant, heading towards the jungle of Yodie Gang. I'm surprised OgiBre's been able to catch up here. He was under a lot of pressure early on, but hold that thought. Oni Fury started up, and BOBA knows about it.
Already half HP. BOBA sets sights on it, as does LaRevolution. Spirit of the Nine Winds comes out, and it's again a great secure from Pikarino. Right on the limit of that threshold. And now it's a full retreat from the Yomi Tanuki. What's the chase like? Great knockup on the StreakUp. Oh, tons of damage though. But look at the slow coming out from SunTzuDisciple. They got 1 kill, but you need more than that to make this worthwhile. Calvìn blinks over into the purple, but PrettyPriMe can't lock him down. But Pikarino, the bigger fish for this Hachiman and Maui to go after, but they can't get any more kills. It is just the 1 kill on the StreakUp.
Wow, BOBA is a maniac for going in with that ultimate. That was essentially a 1v4, and he was able to get out. Unfortunately, Pikarino didn't think he would go in or didn't have the cooldowns. You drop 1 tornado, and you get a guaranteed kill there, but doesn't end up working out. OgiBre does some good damage. FrenchEmperor should be able to confirm this.
FrenchEmperor swooping in, but look at the lifesteal coming out from Seagyll. Turns it right back around on him, and there's LaRevolution to stop OgiBre from getting a retreat out. There's another nice landfall, using it as a wall instead. There's the final judgment coming through, not enough damage. SunTzuDisciple still can't find the damage. Somehow, OgiBre makes it out from all of that. Wow.
Yeah, the Heavenly Banner was close, but not close enough, and I'm amazed. FrenchEmperor goes in, his ult was close to being off cooldown, but also was not available. That's the only way you go in and confirm that kill, so props to Seagyll for not only having some good juke shoes, but hitting that CC just to guarantee that he stalls long enough to get the kill on the FrenchEmperor, and then, of course, the rest of the team comes in to help him out. Man, I mean, Prime has been pretty far behind just by nature of dying, right? He's 1 in 4. It's kind of the Susano treatment when you're Thoth. You're going to do a ton of damage, but you're very easy to kill. I really need to see more from, the peel. I think that LaRevolution has just been going for setup, which is kind of what you have to do in this situation. If Seagyll and LaRevolution can sort of CC together, I mean, PrettyPrime's going to have a field day. My man is about an item behind of Pikarino at the moment, but still is able to do a lot of damage in the event that he connects.
Well, it all depends on if the FrenchEmperor can continue to run the show the way they have so far. Now, as we do get into the later stages of this game, that's where you tend to find your assassin junglers fall off a little bit. The damage is still good, but they won't have the space to find these singular picks onto a Thoth, for example, or to commit under the tower like they just did onto Seagyll on the Morgan Le Fay. The Pirates are being flirted with, but BOBA in a lot more danger.
Goodness.
And there is another kill for FrenchEmperor. Yet again, OgiBre in the thick of things, burn out some action. But again, the focus goes onto the Susano, and it will get them down. Now OgiBre looped up into more danger. This time shall not escape. Seagyll falls for the first time to Pikarino. Calvìn dashing on deep. There's the hook coming out from LaRevolution. 2 for 2 on both sides. Pyromancer still stands up.
And this is what I'm talking about. Yodie Gang still able to fight back in despite being down about 5,000 gold. They have the damage. They just need to be able to connect on some of these key targets. SunTzuDisciple hits level 24-0 on the Hachiman. StreakUp had such a lead over in duo, but you just can't handle the scaling of these crit ADCs, right? I mean, I thought that'd be the build, right? Everyone on Ullr, the reason that Ullr is so prevalent in the meta at the moment is because you can go that crit build. You can go Hydras into, you know, Fail Not. But in this case, just going for full burst Ullr. We talked about shred versus burst on objectives. The Yodie Gang have it in spades now, especially looking into late game.
Yeah, and of course with the Heavenly Banner coming out from SunTzuDisciple will only help with that as we get further into these later stages. And it actually looks like that is the cue for the Yodie Gang to commit to this Fire Giant. It is burning relatively fast. Now Pikarino is on the way and does have the Spirit of the Nine Winds. Yomi Tanuki not giving this one up. There's OgiBre to fire at the shots, and there is the Spirit of the Nine Winds to take down this Fire Giant. OgiBre confident to dash on in. No danger to them because Seagyll is down to StreakUp. Now in the sky, up on the tree, comes BOBA, but just to retreat. SunTzuDisciple, this has been the saving grace for the Yodie Gang. Shall save no longer. FrenchEmperor also taking down LaRevolution. Yomi Tanuki wipe out all of the Yodie Gang's momentum.
Wow, I mean, that is a play that you don't have to go for at all. Yodie Gang was taking some pretty good scraps, but take a look at Prime's ult. Doesn't even go off. You want to know why? Because you can't cast it when you're CC. Now the Yomi Tanuki step forward. They've got a Titan alone for a couple seconds, but they're not going to go for it. I think that is the correct play. Still 2 tier 2 towers available. And already mentioned, PrettyPriMe has his ult and both relics available. Not going to be easy to go for an end call 22 minutes in under those circumstances. So why not back up? You got Fire Giant on 5, head in for the Gold Fury. And again, it just didn't seem like a play the Yodie Gang had to make. They were in a good spot. They were having some good scraps. But Prime is never going to out-confirm Pikarino unless you can CC the Susano, which did not happen.
Yeah, we did see Yodie Gang make these types of plays yesterday against Hex Mambo, and they were good calls then, right? To just go for the risky play. But in those games, it actually felt like they were way further behind. They were not showing up well in the team fights. They had to go for the crazy play because it was really their only way back in. Now it doesn't feel like that was necessary at all. I can understand pulling it, right? You just want to damage check it. See, what is the reaction time like from the Yomi Tanuki? But immediately spotted out. I think it was by OgiBre first on the scene. And like you said, there is just no way they could take such a risky play that they didn't even have to take. And now they find themselves significantly on the back foot.
Right, and that's the thing. In order for Prime to rival the confirm that Pikarino has, he's got to full charge that ult, which is just not going to happen. You better be pre-beadsing to make sure that FrenchEmperor doesn't use the pull or the knock up there. So in this case, just wasn't a great call, and now the Yodie Gang are on the defensive once again. They were able to win some fights on the defensive, but it's looking a lot worse for wear when you're down 11k and Fire Giant on 5. Your mid-bird already has fire minions pouring in, which it seems like BOBA took care of. He just went back to base, so should be a true 5v5 in this situation, but the Yomi Tanuki can play this one slow. Just wait for Calvìn to find a pluck. It'll happen eventually.
Yeah, the way Calvin's been playing as well has that blink available. At some point, someone on the Yodie Gang is going to be getting plucked. Look at the poke coming out from StreakUp, just firing down PrettyPrime's health bar. The fight hasn't even started yet. PrettyPriMe has to refresh. There is BOBA lurking on the right-hand side. Has been spotted out, though, by FrenchEmperor. And fully aware how the Yomi Tanuki this might happen. There goes Calvìn with the blink. Just going in to cause some disruption. A landfall to try to lock in the members of the Yomi Tanuki. Hasn't worked yet, but Calvìn has no backup to work with. BOBA goes in, deflects away the rest of the Yomi Tanuki, and that is a failed siege and a first defense for the Yodie Gang.
Yeah, I didn't love that. I mean, Calvìn blinking in, not a problem, right? He's trying to create space, but ends up in the little corridor between Phoenixes, gets ulted by Prime, just did not have any sort of initiation, and all the rest of the ults for the Yomi Tanuki are ready. They're trying to set up an ambush, unbeknownst to them. They're all sitting on a ward right now, so Yodie Gang is not going to step up. without knowing exactly where the Tanuki are. I think it's the correct call just to retreat, but when you got your support going in like that, you better be providing the ults or it's just a wasted siege. And I think that was what they all realized. Hey, there's no reason that we step forward here. Maybe you wait for the fire minions to push up. I think that's the better call, but even so, BOBA could clear that wave and ult in at any moment. So just a tricky situation. The Yomi Tanuki are going to take this as a small win. They broke the base, they got the Phoenix, and they were able to steal away a Fire Giant, right? That wasn't even a play that they tried to make. It was more of a reactive play, so not going to be the end of the world. Now we're looking towards that mid-Phoenix spawning in when these Titans start to siege out over on right lane. And there's a lot of plays available. Do the Yodie Gang just go and split push? Do they try and deal with these Titans that are walking out? Or do they just sit under base and try and defend fire?
Well, now it is all about how do you answer that question, right? That is the million-dollar question for the Yodie Gang. And it's always tough in this sort of scenario. You will at least have your mid lane Phoenix back alive. And with that, you can then, at least get some sort of equal footing. But the equal footing is still 13,000 gold down. And at this point, I'm not sure that's something that the Yodie Gang can contend with.
That would be the case. Fire Giant's up, mid-bird, last wave of fire minions is gone. But the Tanuki are stepping forward. This is not a Fire Giant siege they won. In fact, they're looking for a fight, but SunTzu, he wants to go for the backup.
My goodness, Pikarino in some trouble. Final Judgment doesn't take down the rest of the health bar by virtue of the Aegis going through. Now there's Calvìn with the Plucker as well. Chaotic fight across the board. French Emperor low, but BOBA taken out before they can find the all-important killer. Yodie Gang put up an engagement, but now they're going to have to retreat.
Yeah, Pikarino still holds on to that ultimate. Spirit of the Nine Winds is here for confirmation, but it's not the Fire Giant thereafter. They're going to deal with Yodie Gang's Titan first and let their Titan start pushing up right lane. All the while, send Pikarino, send French Emperor back to base because they got very weak. Yodie Gang has no way of knowing this, but they're in an advanced situation here. It's a 4v3.
Oh no! SunTzuDisciple getting locked in place does just about have enough distance cleared so they can stay alive, but that right side order, Chaos Titan in big danger. There's French Emperor to start to sweep up all of the backline. Gets the Aegis out of PrettyPriMe. LaRevolution, low health. French Emperor did get feared into the tower, so maybe in a little bit of danger there, but does get out safely. Order Titan has won the battle. Chaos Titan driven back, and that's the key for the Fire Giant to be taken by the Yomi Tanuki.
Yep, should be an easy play. Seagyll is going to show up on the map right on that Titan, so you don't have to worry about any steal potential, unless BOBA went in for a crazy ult one. Yeah, not even close. There's just so much damage online here for the Yomi Tanuki. And that was a risky call, right? You win that fight pretty handily. They step up towards the Titan. I love the ultimate from LaRevolution. Like, hey, they're in the jungle. We're not fighting on Fire Giant, but it did seem like you didn't have to defend that FG. It's not enhanced, right? You could have just went back, played under your Titan, or played on your Phoenix, rather. The siege of the Yomi Tanuki was not great, but now you've lost a few lives, lost a few relics. Won't have Prime's Aegis for 2 minutes. Won't have SunTzu's Aegis for 2 minutes. And the Yomi Tanuki can step forward knowing that the Titans have been dealt with at the very least. You don't have any runic bombs that are that impactful. It's just Calvin's, and not going to be too difficult, or not going to be too easy, rather, for him to step forward and get it placed, because he is the dive. It really is just Calvìn who goes forward, as we saw last time. I'm thinking it might be time for the Tanuki to try some split push. I don't know if the 5v5 just walking into two mages like PrettyPriMe and Seagyll is going to be effective.
Yeah, the one big roadblock for the Yomi Tanuki is that in that right-hand side lane, there is still a tier 2 tower standing. Now, that does mean that your options are severely limited. You have to, if you are going to split push through that mid and left-hand side. And, it's still difficult for
very
the
close
to deal with, but it's so close together that it's not the biggest rotation anyone has to make. Especially you don't have to commit something like BOBA's semi-global through the Cosmos to get all the way over to the left-hand side. So at least the Yodie Gang have that in their pocket, but they're going to have to defend from scratch yet again.
Waiting for Calvìn. He's going to be the go button. I wouldn't hate someone heading over to right and just start pushing at this point, but it does seem like it's just, hey, can StreakUp hit an axe? If no, here comes a blink pluck from Calvìn, but it's off the mark. This is the same play as last time.
all off the mark, and there's the landfall coming back through again. Oh, Final Judgment does come in, but doesn't finish off anyone. FrenchEmperor, though, finished off by BOBA again. This Ratatoskr playing spoiler to the Susano. The Yomi Tanuki really struggling on the siege on this left-hand side. BOBA gets a blink. Pikarino completely exposed. There is the Aegis coming out. There's the slow immunity as well. Backup has arrived in the form of some extra peel, but Calvìn is low. Calvìn gets hooked, and Calvìn now surely will fall down. Actually looks like LaRevolution and BOBA will continue to give chase. Calvìn just going to stall for some time, but this is time that his team needs because they're the ones with the fire giant.
Yep, Calvìn is going to go down to PrettyPriMe, but it looks like BOBA still chasing it. I mean, that was the same exact play. Blink in from Calvìn, get nothing, die. It happened twice now. I'm telling you, the split push is the only way that the Yomi Tanuki are going to step forward, because even if that pluck connects, you get a beads and Calvìn dies anyways, right? It's not going to be this opening that they're looking for. Now the Yodie Gang get to stall out once again. I will say, Enhanced Fire Giant changes things entirely, right? You can just solo a Phoenix at that point. So if that's the call for the Tanuki, just stall it out until they get EFG. That could be a bit different. OgiBre leading the charge. Does dash in to get some damage. Actually goes into the ultimate here. The Tanuki are trying to fight this.
Straight into the ultimate. PrettyPriMe fires off their ultimate. Doesn't connect.
He's gone.
Pikarino. Oh my goodness. Complete one-shot onto PrettyPriMe. This changes things quite drastically. Pikarino with the double kill out of absolutely nowhere. And now the Yodie Gang are in big trouble.
That was 2,000 damage. Prime had Aegis, man. He watched it come and smack him in the face. Now they get to walk forward. Polynomicon is going to help out, and Phoenix does go down here. But what do the Tanuki do next? I like this. Go right in for the left side bird. You still have Fire Giant for 18 more seconds. You might as well try and fully break the base.
It's only the 3 members to defend from the Yodie Gang. Stepping up high are the Tanuki. They don't have the blink pluck from Calvìn.
Maybe that's good.
That'll be a benefit for them because it's just a thunder crash from OgiBre. Creates a little bit of space. Pikarino fighting back tight on the Phoenix.
Again.
Already down. Here it comes again with the Spirit of the Nine Winds. And that's just to send an extra message. 2 Phoenixes down. Yomi Tanuki go back over to the Fire Giant.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You cannot be letting the Spirit of the Nine Winds connect. Just raw, no setup there, but sometimes it hits. In this case, that's exactly what happened. Broke the siege wide open, 2 Phoenixes down, and the Yomi Tanuki won a backup, but Bracer has been placed. It looks like they're going to try to fight this one again. Calvìn blinks in.
Just wants to go for it. Calvìn non-stop. Pikarino still churning out as much damage as they possibly can. The Yodie Gang still want to take this fight on the left-hand side, actually, and are actually pushing up very, very quickly. They want to fight before the Fire Giant, and who can really blame them? And at the moment, the backs are being channeled. StreakUp gets out first. Pikarino somewhat exposed. OgiBre now is the target of the ire of the Yodie Gang, trying to find anyone. Absolutely anyone will do. Pikarino again with the Spirit of the Nine Winds, and you know he's going to hit him. And he takes down SunTzuDisciple. Now the retreat coming out from the Yodie Gang, but it will not be enough. FrenchEmperor pulls in LaRevolution. PrettyPriMe chased away, and they will fall to the Susano. BOBA and LaRevolution trying to do what they can to keep their team in this game, but FrenchEmperor doesn't care. FrenchEmperor still wants to fight. BOBA wants to fight, but can fight no longer. The Yodie Gang take a spill. The Yomi Tanuki pick up 4.
And that's going to be the end of the game. It definitely should be. Fire minions pulling in, and that is the full-on wipe. Seagyll and Sun are up for 30 seconds, and the minions are already getting it started. And Pikarino, man, these ultimates are just ridiculous. 2,000 to one-shot Prime. Shows up later, and you see SunTzu dash right into the Spirit of the Nine Winds and get absolutely deleted. Why not end the game with one? Send it in. Third ult we've seen in a couple minutes. That is ridiculous. This Kukulkan was just on point.
Yep. It's something that we've seen a lot of already in this tournament, right? Kukulkan's been picked up like nearly every game, if not every game. It's been such a popular pick. I was actually questioning yesterday. I was like, you know, why are these teams valuing it so highly, right? Because, all right, Spirit of the Nine Winds is incredible for objective secure, but we haven't seen it be as consistent as it was this game. We also haven't seen it has so much of an impact in team fights. Like, we know it could one-shot you. Everyone's been one-shot by it, but it never happens in a competitive game, right? And we just saw saw it multiple times. What a showing for Pikarino.
Yeah, usually it's off the back of some CC. So you got to give shouts to FrenchEmperor for just absolutely carrying the early game, right? That Susano was like 7-1 so quickly, and that became a problem. And then late game, Pikarino just on point, saying, hey, we don't have to siege on the Phoenix. We're just going to fight in the jungle, and it's going to work.
Match point for the Yomi Tanuki. Can the Yodie Gang turn it around? We'll find out after this break.
That's right. The SMITE World Championships is just around the corner. If my math serves me correctly, only 35 days until the kickoff of the SWC live in Arlington, Texas. So hope to see you there. If you can't make it to the event, we will be streaming it obviously on our Twitch and our YouTube channel. So make sure you are watching it in some capacity. And you can also even pick up some merch. We do have some SWC themed merch over at our shop, hi-rezstudios.com/SWC. Jerseys, t-shirts, bags, hats, pins, stickers. There's so much stuff you can purchase on there. I think there's even like a full jogger set that you can pick up, so make sure you pick up the merch. Come out to the SWC event if you already have your ticket to do so. If not, make sure you are tuning in to watch it and celebrate the World Championships again. 35 days away from the kickoff of the event. Going to be an exciting time, and that's what these teams this weekend are battling to try and get to. They've got to get through not just this qualifier, but then the one immediately after that. And right now, at least for Yomi Tanuki, Mifflin trying to make a strong stance in game number 1 to do so. Love what we saw out of TheFrenchEmperor on the Susano, constantly across the map in this mid lane, in this dual lane, getting that early pressure for his team and making it a little bit easier for Pikarino in the late game to hit those snipes.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's that dynamic duo of TheFrenchEmperor and Pikarino that really sets Yomi Tanuki apart here. TheFrenchEmperor facilitates the entirety of the early game, is a phenomenal bridge player until we crest that 18, 19, 20 minute mark, and then all of a sudden Pikarino, who has having himself a great weekend so far, continues to do so on the Kukulkan. My concern for Yomi Tanuki starts to arise once we saw the continued failed sieges on left-hand side. I believe it's off the back of a few missed plucks from Calvìn. Team fight starts to go south. PrettyPrime's putting out a lot of damage. BOBA's got the reinitiation, and it's really difficult for the Yomi Tanuki to disengage should that first bit of the fight go poorly. But eventually, Pikarino said, all right, well, if the CC ain't coming, I still got to use my ultimate. I still got to throw it out, and does so. Throws out, I believe, 2 or 3 ultimates towards the end of that game with 0 setup, and it just looks perfect. Hits multiple targets or 1 priority target each time. Was playing very well around that ranged poke. This Kukulkan impressed me a lot. That's not to say that Yodie Gang doesn't have answers built in. I thought BOBA had himself a very good game. So maybe if you can find something a little bit more early game centric out of mid for PrettyPrime, and then synergize well with BOBA's playstyle, Yodie Gang might be able to find an answer to Pikarino, but you got to get through TheFrenchEmperors early, and if he's doing that to you on Susano, who's not exactly an early game pick, got to wonder what he could do on things like Thor. We don't have to wonder. We saw it yesterday. It looked good.
13-4 for TheFrenchEmperor, 29,000 damage. Pikarino 6-1 on the Kukulkan. But I just got to point out, it was highlighted in the cast, and you got to remember, it was a 2,000 damage ultimate that hit PrettyPrime, had Aegis up, chose not to use it, and then suffered the consequences because of it. Lost his entire health bar in the one shot once you go towards that stage of the game. Well, I think maybe at least for Yodie Gang, from what I saw out of BOBA, there were strong moments out of the Ratatoskr, but it felt like the early game, BOBA was spending too much time in the soul lane trying to shut down OgiBre, who was just existing as a Raijin over there, when maybe some of those efforts could have been put towards taking down Pikarino or TheFrenchEmperor, or really kind of slow down the momentum of the jungle, because TheFrenchEmperor didn't care about soul lane. He was everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting duality to it. Do you want a late-game Raijin with a lead rotating into your fights? Probably not, so you got to slow that down. Controlling Totem of Skulls, of course, very valuable as well. So I understand why, but there is certainly potential to prevent TheFrenchEmperor from running the map, right? That is one of the primary strengths of semi-global junglers, is your ability to play spoiler to the other jungler. Oh, I'm hovering the jungle. Oh, TheFrenchEmperor is diving my tier 1 tower. I'm there off the Yggdrasil tree. Or, oh, maybe TheFrenchEmperor is finally making a rotation over to solo, and you can kind of use that ultimate reactively. Didn't see a whole lot of that. Saw a whole lot of active play from BOBA, which generally is something I'm singing the praise of. It's something we don't see enough from the majority of junglers in the SCC. But you gotta take matchups into account and things along those lines. So I think you're right. Could have maybe put a little bit more emphasis on the enemy jungle.
Maybe one thing that's a bit shocking so far in these early picks and bans, no Yemoja ban, and so far no Yemoja pick in these top 3. Raijin, Hachiman, and Kukulkan instead will be the first 3 gods picked up. The latter of the 2 over there for the Yomi Tanuki. We'll now see that Yemoja for Yodie Gang to go alongside the Raijin. And what looks to be this Thoth. It really feels like over here in the EU region, Thoth has kind of become that next up-and-coming mage. You throw him right there along with the Kukulkan. It seems like those 2 have kind of just made their home in mid lane and maybe push some of those other mages out.
I'm not fully convinced that Kukulkan's at that level. I've seen the performance, and I'll say that they play it well. But is it as strong as things like Thoth? Is it as strong as maybe things like Chernobog out of mid, or the standard mages that we've become accustomed to? I'm not there just yet. Is Thoth? Yes. Yeah, I think so. I mean, the poke potential, the build route, it all looks very good for Thoth right now, and we saw what that damage output looked like from behind in the previous game. Imagine what you could do with a little bit of a lead or even staying even.
Do see Susano and Thor banned out by Yodie Gang, so not a chance for FrenchEmperor to take the guy that he just had a strong hyper carry style of game on, and not allowing him to go back towards the Thor that he had just yet either. So instead it'll be a Camazotz for Yomi Tanuki's jungler. On the opposite side, Nemesis as the lock-in along with Anhur. So Yemoja Anhur duo lane. Got expecting probably a lot of fighting in that early duo.
Yeah, Yodie Gang's got a lot of pressure to play through over in the long lane. And looking at the composition, auto-attack jungle means that you've got pretty decent ability to roll through Gold Furies, and then you've got confirmation from the Thoth. You're always concerned, of course, with Spear of the Nine Winds steals, but Thoth, I think, a little bit faster on that ultimate, can really send it out and confirm those objectives with relative ease. So I would like to see Yodie Gang certainly focus that duo lane. Play through them, roll through objectives. That's how I want them to establish their lead. Whereas Yomi Tanuki, on the other hand, they can play a little bit more versatile with their draft. That's what Daji brings you, having that roaming, massive, just monolith of CC. The Powwow, of course, just makes it so easy for you to set up an engagement anywhere on the map.
Yeah, I just look at that middle 3 selection of picks, and it feels like Daji could just have a field day. Yemoja, Thoth, Nemesis, no CC immunity outside of a purification beads. Feels like we might know maybe a few of the targets for this Daji, because I saw the Camazotz, like, all right, cool, Camazotz jungle, no big deal. Looks like we might be seeing Camazotz slot his way over towards the solo lane. We'll have to see where things slot out and how things pan out in game number 2 as we throw it over to our casters.
That's right, it is match point now for the Yomi Tanuki. But something very important that I've noticed, Trelly, from this draft is something that has been considered a mistake by many lately. That is a solo laner that is not a mage coming out from the Yomi Tanuki here. How do you think OgiBre on this Camazotz will square up against this Raijin?
I mean, I'm excited to see it just because this was something that I theorized when the mage solo lane first sort of came about. That's where your first thought goes, right? The reason that mages weren't played in the solo lane is because assassins and warriors were able to outpressure them, but because tank stats were a little bit more valuable, the sustain, their build path was just super strong. So now those items have taken a bit of nerfs. Maybe OgiBre can go the full damage Camazotz. That is what it seems like, Bluestone into a possible Jotuns. Maybe you're able to outpressure. It's just the sustain route that's really scary, right? When you start trading abilities, you don't really have the same mana sustain as a Vampiric Shroud, so even though you're hitting more abilities consistently, is it even doing more damage than he's healing up?
Oh, SunTzuDisciple right in immediately. StreakUp using that Aijutsu for a bit of peel, coming out there for their support. And good sign from the dual lane there of the Yodie Gang. You want to be getting aggressive. Getting aggressive in the mid lane as well.
So close.
Early beads yet again coming out from PrettyPriMe, but BOBA looking for the scrap instead. Level 3 though for FrenchEmperor might be it. No! Will not be able to take the kill. Pikarino gets one, PrettyPriMe gets the other. Doesn't get the tornado, does Pikarino. Gets the Zephyr, the minions really want to hit some shots. Basics now from Pikarino. This is where you wish your mid laner would play ADC, but doesn't connect with the Zephyr, doesn't connect with the Whirlwind. That'll be that for this mid lane scrap.
Yeah, wow, you could tell that BOBA really wanted that first blood. Once again, remember, this happened exactly last game, but this time around, at least Prime gets the trade. And he gets the kill on to FrenchEmperor. You don't give him with a great start, but guess what? BOBA comes to lane, and FrenchEmperor goes to buff. So, return kill over to BOBA. The Yodie Gang make out a lot better than they did last time.
Yep, for sure. BOBA coming back saying, no. I am getting that kill, even if it kills me, which it didn't this time, at least. So, finally, Yodie Gang actually taking the lead in the kills for the first time in this set. So got to be happy with this sort of start. And this composition does scream a lot more early game aggression. Even if Nemesis is not quite that fast starting god, if you get off to a fast start, it doesn't really matter.
That is true. You want to get that itemization online as quickly as possible. Seems like the Atalanta's bow is the call. And because they got that early pressure, heading over towards blue buff, OgiBre and FrenchEmperor a little bit late. They have to just go for the steal, but actually they're going for the fight.
FrenchEmperor wants the fight. We saw this last time. Raijin hits 5. Raijin hits the taiko drums and already picks up 1 kill, but OgiBre able to trade it back. Now, we'll actually go to give chase to the enemy blue buff because BOBA's still on level 4. Blink comes out from OgiBre. There are the bats ticking down onto this blue buff. BOBA really wants to get it. BOBA will not secure that all-important blue buff. Prime thinking about making the rotation, but doesn't. And that'll just be a trade of blue buffs for both sides.
Yeah, I thought that OgiBre was going to go for the kill more so than the buff invade, and that's probably what PrettyPriMe thought as well. But the second he saw him retreating, he's like, dude, I'm not wasting it. I'm just going to get bat out of hell, and then I'm going to lose a wave, and that's just not fun. So I understand the call. OgiBre, I mean, that was luck as well, right? Because let's call skill on the buff confirmation, but the second that you see Seagyll go to level 5, FrenchEmperor's like, man, I really was looking at a level 4 fight. That seemed doable, but once we see Zyko drums come out, this fight gets a little bit worse for wear. But luckily, OgiBre connects the Vampiric Bats and at least gets a trade, so it's not the end of the world. And we do see a bit of a lead for the Camazotz solo, at least for now. The early game is where I expected it to be a little bit rough, but now that you've got some itemization online, you're able to pick up that Chalice of Healing. The sustain that Seagyll has isn't going to be the end of the world, especially with the Camazotz with his passive stacked.
Yep, and as was mentioned on the desk, FrenchEmperor in the previous game got off to a fantastic fast start. But this time, despite falling down a little bit in the gold charts, Yodie Gang have managed to dampen FrenchEmperor's starts, already falling down twice. It took quite some time for FrenchEmperor to die twice in the previous game, and in fact was just getting a killing spree every life, it seemed like. So this time, Daji given a bit of a bloody nose. Have to keep an eye on if FrenchEmperor can turn this around, because Daji does still build up well into the game, especially once Calvìn starts rotating and hitting some of these Stygian Torments.
Exactly. Someone else to pull the beads is exactly what FrenchEmperor needs. But BOBA doesn't even have the beads, so could be a pretty solid target. He ever finds a 1v1 potential, or at the very least, some good damage. Speaking of Stygian Torment, LaRevolution pulled in, but I don't think anything comes from that one.
No, not going to come out, but what you do get, at least, is the Purification Beads off of SunTzuDisciple. Did actually have the Desert Fury available, and even then, I'm not sure would have been in too much trouble, but not wanting to take a risk, decides to go for that instead. Pikarino all the way over here. Calvìn actually might be in some trouble. Can leap over that wall if they need to. Instead, wants to get aggressive onto LaRevolution, but is not able to, and despite both mid laners making the rotation over, all the signs of a fight, but no scrapping just yet.
Yeah, that's a smart call from Pikarino, because if you look, FrenchEmperor, yeah, he's on the right side of the map. He's trying to invade blue. So either A, you're giving up dual lane pressure, or B, you make that rotation over, which PrettyPriMe didn't really follow up. He was nearby, but did not go in for any sort of purple buff invade, and you really relieve a lot of the pressure as well. Ultimate used on the Calvìn. Once again, not much going to come from it. These are just damage checks, you know, trying to see how the enemy team will react. You didn't see much come from it. All the while, you do get a nice ultimate on a Pikarino.
Oh, it's a fantastic set of walls, but a great Aegis. It means most of the damage. BOBA may be in some trouble. There's the first pal of the game. Gets a pull onto BOBA. Combine it with the stun coming out from Calvìn, and Pikarino shall get the second kill of this game in the mid lane for Yomi Tanuki. Some aggression from Yodie Gang, rightly punished.
And that's why you got to check immediately when you spawn into the game at level 1. Most people just go, okay, I'm a carry, I'm going to buy beads, that's it. Pikarino made the correct call and said, okay, what CC am I worried about? I've got slow immunity for Nemesis. I've got, you know, it's just damage, right? In this case, that's exactly what happened. Doesn't have the beads, just Aegis's all of that DPS, and then BOBA's like, wait, I just dove super far for this kill and we got nothing? Okay, I'm going to back up. No beads available. FrenchEmperor is going to pull him back in every single time. Love that call, and man, Pikarino has been on an absolute tear. You got to give credit. Saw him pop off yesterday, and he's continuing to do so today.
Another scrap over this left-hand side. Oh, good. Pillar forces Calvìn to have to go into the defensive style as the Desert Fury doesn't secure the kill. StreakUp, though, wants to take this kill. Goes into the mounted archery, but now might pay the price. BOBA trying to sweep down the kill. Will get it. FrenchEmperor rolling it out, but Pikarino on the faster rotation in. PrettyPriMe on the way. Dashes in with the evade and punish. FrenchEmperor low. FrenchEmperor down. Pikarino in huge trouble. Does manage to throw off the ultimate, but does not connect this time. A triple kill for BOBA. Yodie Gang fight really, really well there.
Yeah, that was one of those plays where FrenchEmperor blinked in to try and save StreakUp. I think you just got to let him die there. I mean, I know now because we watched it, but even in that moment, it didn't seem like he was ever going to be able to keep StreakUp alive, and doing so gets BOBA very low, yes, but Pikarino could not confirm that kill, and giving a triple kill over towards the Nemesis. That's a scary thought. We talked about Susano with a lead, now we got to talk about Nemesis with a lead, and it's also extremely scary. Nem is one of those characters that really comes online late game. Her 1v1 is ridiculous, especially with that shield. Now, BOBA heading over to right lane. Bat out of hell is available, so I don't imagine a kill comes through, but either way, still scary stuff.
Yeah, gonna have to force out that ultimate, and that now reduces the potential for OgiBre to fight in this lane, right? But one of the real strengths of that Bat Out of Hell is that, you know, when Seagyll and OgiBre inevitably duke it out in lane, at some point Raijin's going to use the ultimate, but Bat Out of Hell just immunes all of the damage in CC, and that would be where you'd expect OgiBre to find a kill, but not going to be available now for the next 90 seconds or so, which just means that this right-hand side of the map, if BOBA wants it, BOBA can take it. And look at this, already swooping around, trying to get this kill, but OgiBre smells it out at least.
Yeah, he had Blink, so he could have been able to close gap, but if BOBA connects the ult, doesn't matter. Doesn't seem like diving the tower is the call, though. And then we'll just retreat for now, but BOBA is still sticking around as Calvìn has also made the rotation over to right lane. It seems like trying to play through OgiBre is going to be a good look. I mean, he's got the most farm on the map currently, level 11 to everyone else's 10, so making sure your Camazotz is ahead and stays ahead, probably a good call. All the while, Yomi Tanuki, despite being down 7-4, still up in gold as well. And that's a big deal, because when you're losing in kills, when you're losing in fight, you got to make sure your farm game is on point. You got to make sure these buff invades and just good wave confirmation is all there. And that seems to be exactly what the Tanuki are going for. Remember, last game there was a massive lead and still no Gold Fury pull before 12 minutes. I think we're in the same sort of boat here. This is going to be a slower pace game. Maybe heats up around Beacon.
Yeah, maybe a bit higher potential for a Gold Fury to go down a little bit earlier, because Calvìn can shred some protection, streak up on the Hachiman, maybe not dishing out quite as much damage as we've seen before, but oh wow, BOBA does half of Pikarino's health just for walking the street the wrong way, and that will send that Kukulkan back to base. And it looks like they are actually looking, having sent Pikarino back, looks like the Gold Fury will get pulled by the Yodie Gang, or at least considered, and yeah, there goes the pull fully. Now Calvìn, more than aware this is going on. It's already half HP. Calvìn goes in, gets a 3-man Stygian Torment. Gold Fury very, very low, and it will fall down, but on the backside, FrenchEmperor has found a great angle on the PrettyPriMe, goes up into the powwow, and will finish off PrettyPriMe is StreakUp now. There's just the one kill, though, and I think the Yodie Gang will be happy with that. Pikarino taunted into danger, no beads to work with. Does have a big dragon, but does not connect this time. Seagyll dashes back in with that Thunder Crash. Can't get over the wall, so Calvìn might escape, but no, BOBA has the blink. OgiBre is here, though. BOBA shall be punished and shall be shut down. Now Seagyll left a little bit alone. LaRevolution is here to provide some backup, but Seagyll very low health. Here comes the Bat Out of Hell, swoops down. A double kill for OgiBre. LaRevolution is there for anyone who wants to take it, as is SunTzuDisciple. One more shot from OgiBre. That'll be the triple for the Bat. Does go down, but an absolutely massive fight.
I love when aggressive plays get rewarded. You know, he's got the double kill. He could have just turned and killed LaRevolution. It was very easy, but he said, no, I'm going for the Anhur. He's got no mana. I'm going to chase him down. But unfortunately, the little pool did not give him enough HP, did not give him enough sustain, and he couldn't get the vampire bats off to live through the tower shot and, of course, those archers. Wow. Start with a beautiful play by BOBA, right? Gets Pikarino to half HP, forces him back to base. The second Kukulkan is gone, Gold Fury gets a lot more doable. Yodie Gang recognize that, and they go forward. Even with a big Stygian Torment from Calvìn, they confirm it, but then they chase a little bit too far. They say, hey, wait, if Seagyll's here, is there a Camazotz here too? And OgiBre says, absolutely. Immediately kills BOBA, and then the chase ensues. So much damage coming from this Camazotz. And the Yomi Tanuki turned what was a great call from Yodie Gang into a bit of an overstay, and they make out much better than Yodie Gang did.
Yeah, it's one of those things, when you make the solo rotation for either the Beacon or for the Gold Fury, you think, oh yeah, we can take this fight. We outnumber them. We've got to go for this. And then you recognize, hold on, they can just counteract that by rotating their own soul lane. LaRevolution, nowhere to go, no beads to work with, just picked off there by FrenchEmperor. They recognize the situation and pull this game back.
And that's more of a snowball effect, because why did LaRevolution not have beads? Because they overstayed after Gold Fury, and of course the Dodgy goes in for the pull, and now they're fighting once again, so it's not going to stop. I love the call. I was going to say, hold up, BOBA's looking underneath tower here. There's no way they try to dive Pikarino under a tier 1, and they didn't. But either way, FrenchEmperor says, hey, I know exactly that beads timer. If we find this Yemoja at any point out of tower line, like, we are going in, and that's exactly what happens. LaRevolution does get punished. And now tied up the game 10-10 kill-wise, but of course, Yomi Tanuki, after that fight, still able to pull ahead gold-wise a fair bit.
Yodie Gang, of course, still more than in this game. It's just a very small lead. That Gold Fury does definitely help. It took a very long time for the Yodie Gang to even get a single objective in the previous game. So improvement is always progress. You know, you would be, I'd say, relatively happy if you're the Yodie Gang. All right, you overstayed on that Gold Fury fight, but that's a problem of your own making, right? If you just discuss together, right, next time we don't overstay. We take the gold, we take the kill, and then we just back out. No need to get overzealous at any point here. It's still relatively early in the game, of course. You know, despite there being so much action and so much fighting, we're still only 14 minutes in, and this game's still got a while left in it.
Certainly does. LaRevolution taking a little bit of damage, but has gotten tankier since the last time. And now it looks like Prime dashing in, looking for French Emperor, can't quite find it. And the Yomi Tanuki are trying to retreat here.
Good stun. Actually forces the Powwow out. Oh, but
Beautiful
that's a fantastic
ult.
Powwow anyway. What a shot. I think that was onto PrettyPriMe. Just shuts down any more aggression because the Yodie Gang all of a sudden switch from attack to defense. The Pyromancer, meanwhile, being started up by OgiBre. PrettyPriMe forced to retreat. There's the Spirit of the Nine Winds. We know Pikarino's going to hit those secures and absolutely nails that one.
Yeah, I mean, 3 powwow shots, 3 different targets. You pull beads off of Prime, you get the ultimate out of Seagyll, and of course you pull beads off of LaRevolution. Oh no, doesn't hold on to him. So, still, beautiful ultimate there, but the Yodie Gang says, hey wait, they use powwow, they use Kukulkan, let's go in for the Primal Fury.
Yeah, you want this more than you want the Pyromancer, that's for sure. It's all about the secure, and they will get it. Now, Seagyll gets pulled up, but does have the beads and is able to retreat. And, oh, Calvìn way overstayed the mark there. OgiBre gets an angle onto SunTzu, but SunTzu just smacks him away into the wall. LaRevolution will die for it, but trading supports and getting a Gold Fury. More than happy with that if you're the Yodie Gang.
Yeah, they're happy with that one, but what do the Tanuki do in the meantime? Looks like a possible tier 1 tower. Yeah, I guess that's all you can go for at this point. And that was another infail from SunTzu that probably saved the engage. It seemed like OgiBre wanted to blink in, wanted to try and chase, and he had plenty of damage to do so, but immediately just gets pushed into the wall and says, okay, well, the rest of the team just got to escape, so no reason to try and chase further. And that's the benefit of looking near the Pyromancer and saying, wait, they just used 2 key ultimates. We've got PrettyPriMe, we've got Final Judgment, and yeah, we're going to go in for the Fury once again. So, Yodie Gang, 2 Furies under their belt. Now they're able to just back up and play defensive, and I think that's the correct play. Fire Giant is not looking likely for either team unless a wipe happens on this side of the map. So go back to the farm game for the time being, and more importantly, keep your eye on those beads timers. Both BOBA and PrettyPriMe, beads at the same time. French Emperor is nearby with ultimate, you gotta watch out.
And we've already witnessed French Emperor can hit those powwow shots, so just relying on that is not going to work for you. Calvìn, of course, as well, has hit some pretty big ults. Oh, speaking of a big ult, ton of damage from the Final Judgment, and LaRevolution doesn't want to give this up, gets a good Riptide, but a blink from Calvìn will shut up any more aggression. Here comes the Powwow, however, used and does not this time connect. So big cooldowns off the mark, and all of a sudden the purification beads for the Yodie Gang should go unpunished.
Yep, BOBA and PrettyPriMe will be able to stall this one out pretty easily. It was close, but not easy to hit a Nemesis dashing around, and of course, French Emperor, that was more of a defensive ultimate, if anything. Realized he was kind of caught out and like, you know, I'll just go up in the Powwow, see what I can make of it. Not much. And Calvìn also recognized, you know what, I'm not that tanky at the moment. I've got Relic Dagger. Maybe I need some more prots to get near this Thoth, because that ult really did hurt. And if the blink didn't come through, Calvìn might have fallen down there, or at least got caught in more CC. So, Beacon spawning in. It's actually the Tanuki that are set up immediately. But Calvìn leagues forward here, maybe trying to just look towards SunTzu or clear the wave, and that will be the call. Yodie Gang isn't going to step up. They're going to have to let this one go. And my goodness, you see the kills, and you're like, okay, they've come back to even. Yodie Gang has gotten both Furies. But all tier 1s are off the map for the Tanuki. They've got a 3,000 gold lead just about.
Yeah, it's really turned into a lot of gold. And I actually really like what OgiBre was doing right there. While the obvious beacon was going the way of the Yomi Tanuki, OgiBre recognized, this is the Yodie Gang we're playing against. I'm going to check fire, just in case. Because we've seen absolute willingness to just go for that objective. And oh, SunTzuDisciple, ooh, no. Blink coming out from Calvìn, of course, so that Stygian Torment off the mark. Gets away safely, does the Anhur. But yeah, at any point, Yodie Gang liable to just pull this objective. Calvìn now no leap to speak of. until right now gets out of that River's Rebuke. Not catching the target. There's LaRevolution. Big cooldown off the map, though, and the Yomi Tanuki want to push forward.
They certainly do. Stepping up just to see exactly what's going on. Red buff is where they're grouped up at the moment. There's not as if, again, you're going to fight over the fire, but Pyromancer spawns in just about now. And the Yomi Tanuki has been on point with grabbing it. Remember, there's already a Runic Bomb in pocket for Calvìn. Why not go in for one more all the while? You let OgiBre zone just by standing around and pumping out some DPS. That's going to be the end of the scrap for now. Yomi Tanuki want to head on back to base. Now 2 bombs for Calvìn. It's going to be a while before we see those get used, but a beautiful dash gets Pikarino low. He's got to send the ult out defensively.
Oh, sends it out from defense to offense. SunTzuDisciple loses most of their health, but not quite one-shot potential yet. Coming out from Pikarino is still waiting to get all those items online, but it was a great stun coming through, but unfortunately for the rest of Yodie Gang, not able to follow up on it properly, and now it looks like some more attention being paid to this Oni Fury. No Spirit of the Nine wins to speak of, so PrettyPriMe holding onto that ult.
Yeah, Pikarino dashes forward, wants to just try and defend.
Really wants it.
Yeah, I mean, you get some good poke on the BOBA, I suppose, but ultimate is down, as you said. PrettyPrime's nearby. The Fury has started up, but I don't think he's close enough. This might just be burned before he can step forward.
It's just too fast. They can't get the distance down, can the Yodie Gang? So gonna have to see if they can pick up anything on the retreat, but no, the awareness just too good from the Yomi Tanuki. I'm not even sure if they're going to be able to get this mid lane tier 1 either, no, because that's where the Chaos team decide to defend and snuck it away somewhat. I'm sure the Yodie Gang were aware it was happening, but nothing they could do about it.
Yeah, I think they thought they were close by, or close enough that they could step forward, but the DPS was just ridiculous, and that's the benefit of having a fed Camazotz, and I was going to say a fed Hachiman, but honestly, it seems like Sun Tzu has been able to catch up a bit. Either way, StreakUp, 4 items finished, does have plenty of DPS. As Calvìn jumps in here?
Calvìn just leaps in, but the rest of the team following up behind. OgiBre absolutely swatted away. Now into the backline goes FrenchEmperor. There's the Spirit of the Nine Winds. Does catch PrettyPriMe and LaRevolution, who try to heal up. But there's a good pull in from FrenchEmperor. Fight is so split. Pikarino is literally 10 HP. BOBA goes for the bigger fish, though, and takes down OgiBre. Now FrenchEmperor lurking around. This is a good fight now for the Yodie Gang, and StreakUp can't escape. FrenchEmperor has to Trickster Spirit away. Looks like a mid lane tier 1 is the target, but no. Instead, the Yodie Gang go for their tried and tested trademark move, and they're going to pull the Fire Giant.
I mean, I would too at this point. Calvìn leaps in and was not the fight they're looking for. Pikarino on the way. Can he get here in time? The ultimate's not even available. It's got to be a Zephyr, but Seagyll has the defensive. There's no way Calvìn can step forward. Fire Giant goes to the Yodie Gang, but do they want to fight or do they retreat?
Oh, Seagyll, I think Thunder crashed forward there. Now regretting those choices, because Pikarino's damage is just too high. But it's Fire Giant on 5 from behind for the Yodie Gang. Power play potential. See what they can make of it. They still have every single tower remaining on the map on the Yomi Tanuki side. So plenty of gold on map to work with. And maybe this is what they're looking for to get back into this game.
And that's what I was talking about. You know, you're in a position where Calvìn doesn't have Blink. That's your best initiation, just a Blink, Stingy, and Torment, but he decides to leap in anyways when it didn't even seem like that great of a play. Gets not much value from it, pretty much just forces Desert Fury. And then BOBA is able to get to the backline and just pick apart low targets. Now you've got the Tanuki on the back foot. They've got to defend some tier 2 towers because I don't think you're stepping up to tier 1. And Calvìn has his consumable slot filled with Runic Bombs that are going to be essentially useless. You're in a point where you need some ward coverage, and your support is just holding 2 bombs for a siege that's not going to come for a couple of minutes probably, and that's only if you can defend.
Yeah, I mean, 66 gold in the pocket, I suppose. Maybe Calvìn could do with that right now. At least buys you 1 ward. But yeah, you know, like you said, you want this vision defensively, especially right now. Not that I think there's too much risk of anything like a Phoenix going down, right? I do think the Yomi Tanuki have what they need to defend these tier 2s, but just that extra bit of vision would maybe give you the information needed to prevent a fight going like the way it just did, you know. We saw Calvìn really excited to get in and get that ult off, but you know, after the fight, when it gets scrappy, that's when you really need that widespread of vision, and it just wasn't enough there for the Tanuki.
Was not. Yodie Gang great to grab a bomb of their own. Looks like that one goes over to LaRevolution for the time being. Tier 1 on right, the last one to fall, and that's exactly where Yodie Gang is heading. You called that Phoenix wouldn't be the call. I think you're right. There's no reason that they would feel confident stepping that far forward, considering that the lead is, you know, almost non-existent at this point. It's a relatively even game. And that's exactly what the Tanuki realized, and they're going to step up to defend a tier 2. French Emperor's not here just yet, but even if he was, beads available for everyone on the side of Yodie Gang. So they're going to back up and say, hey, we'll deal with the Titans when they push through mid, but tier 2 towers seem like a bit much.
A minute and a half still on this Fire Giant means that I think the Yodie Gang will be able to at least push back the Chaos side Titan. So maybe a fight brewing, potentially. I don't think the Tanuki can really step up until this Titan is dealt with. And, you know, again, not expecting it to make it all the way to the Phoenix, but if the Tanuki aren't careful, you know, that Titan can end a game.
Oh, it
if it ends up getting all the way through. So the Tanuki have to play this very, very cautiously and well thought out, because all they need to do is survive this Fire Giant, and then they can, again, take this fight the way they've been playing it all game long so far.
And that seems to be the call. Primal Fury goes down. Tanuki have a Titan to deal with, so they'll have to retreat for the time being. And now just hit level 20s, right? Get some upgraded starter items. Sun Tzu already's got the Leader's Cowl. Boba already has the Protector of the Jungle. Blood-Soaked Shroud just now picked up for Seagyll. These are the power spikes that you need to have before the next fight. French Emperor needs a level. Pikarino needs a level. StreakUp needs a level. All 19 can't go towards that extra starter item upgrade. That would be so crucial, especially fighting towards a Fire Giant. So they need to farm it immediately and then get the gold for the upgrades, which it seems like just about everyone has. Yeah, about 100 off for French Emperor. Everyone else can just upgrade the second they tick over towards level 20. In the meantime, you got to keep Pikarino's relics up as well, because it would be Yodie Gang who wants to go in for the aggressive pull, right? They just got Fire Giant. They can step up towards it, and Cuckoo is the best confirmation on the map.
We're going to be headbutting at this right side jungle at about as equal as it gets. You know, it's about a 3k gold lead now for the Yodie Gang, but almost full builds coming through. You know, pseudo full builds with those recipes in pocket still for the Tanuki, but still a lot of recipes on the side of Yodie Gang. So it will be a headbutt of both sides all over this Fire Giant. Not going to be enhanced yet still. It feels like this game has had a lot in it, but still only 25 minutes in means it might not yet be the killing blow for either side.
Yeah, but remember, it was a bad initiation last time. It was Calvìn jumping in, and what does he do? He jumps in again. This time around, no Stingy and Torment, but it's still the Tanuki. They are the ones in the driver's seat, despite being down a bit.
Yeah, they really want to go for this, but the chain out damage coming from Seagyll, pretty good. The healing seems to be pretty good for the Tanuki as well. They don't really seem to be taking too much poke. Of course, LaRevolution can sustain up their team, but I'm not quite sure where the Tanuki are getting their health from. Maybe they're just not being hit at the moment, so I need to see if the poke game can improve. Oh, OgiBre with a nice angle there, hiding behind the corner, but has to immediately retreat. Now Seagyll in some danger as well. Spots out that Raijin, French Emperor, tricks his spirit forward, but no one yet pulling the trigger.
And you know why these fights are so beneficial for Yodie Gang? Because they've got Yemoja, right? Look at the poke that is coming through from PrettyPriMe. Look at the poke that is coming through from Seagyll. It's getting healed up. Anything that comes through for the Yomi Tanuki, they don't want to stick around. OgiBre gets essentially half health there. You got to go back to base after a situation like that. Yodie Gang is going to take these poke fights every day of the week. That's why Calvìn keeps jumping in. That's why Calvìn wants to blink in and just initiate, but he hasn't been able to have the opportunity to, and now you've got a Camazotz in base.
Look at Boba way around the backside, however, might find themselves cut off and a little isolated. StreakUp has to get onto the mounted archery. Seagyll goes up into the taiko drums. Here's French Emperor with a powwow, gets a hook onto Prime. Prime beats it away, as does LaRevolution. But here comes Calvìn, lifts up this Thoth, puts them in a danger zone, and that will be the kill for French Emperor. First kill of this fight goes the way of the Tanuki. Looks like they're happy with that though, and just going to retreat because they know Yodie Gang can no longer pull this fire.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest win you could ask for. You get the pick onto the Thoth, you back up, and then you go in for the fire. Pikarino's stuck.
Pikarino completely isolated, leaping over the dragon is SunTzuDisciple.
Alternate timeline!
That will be the alternate timeline, though. Can this Kuku get back in? They can, because OgiBre takes down Seagyll. This moment doing a ton of damage to BOBA means they can't finish off the kill. OgiBre causing so much chaos, takes down SunTzuDisciple. It is just LaRevolution. What can they do to keep their team alive?
I mean, at this point, it's just going to be OgiBre running him down while the rest of the team goes in for the Fire Giant. And what a beautiful start. I mean, BOBA does 90% of StreakUp's HP, right? But Mounted Archery gets you out of trouble. Then you see the trade. FrenchEmperor goes in and does about 60% of PrettyPrime's HP. But you want to know the difference between those two things is that PrettyPrime had to use beads, and then here comes the ult from Calvìn, picks him up, throws him into the wall, and that's a pick. I mean, that's the benefit of the safety of Hachiman. Maybe if BOBA's going on a Pikarino, it goes a bit better, but as we just learned, the alternate timeline would have procced regardless. And that means that Yodie Gang got baited, and the Yomi Tanuki grabbed themselves Fire Giant on all 5. More importantly, though, let's take a look at Relics. Prime has nothing for 1:30. No beads on LaRevolution for 70 seconds. No beads on Seagyll for 70 seconds. I mean, take your pick, man. Calvìn, FrenchEmperor, just whenever you want to go in for any sort of initiation, that is when the fight will start. Still 3 tier 2 towers to try and burn through, but they've got plenty of time to do so.
Now, it's been quite some time, of course. We're 30 minutes into this game, and it's been really back and forth. So, you can be forgiven for maybe forgetting how Game 1 went exactly. But the Yomi Tanuki, in a similar position, maybe a little earlier in the game, really struggled to siege Phoenixes. And still, without having an enhanced Fire Giant, just a regular Fire Giant, and plenty good siege defense potential from the Yodie Gang, I do wonder if they'll change up the strategy this time just to find another way to break the base.
I wouldn't hate that, but remember, they do have the 2 runic bombs. Calvin's been holding these since level 12.
That's a good point.
So you just got to watch out. They can be destroyed, so you can't just drop them willy-nilly, but walk up, go for a split push, go left, go right, etc. But look at this. BOBA's revealed himself on the map. At least will do now. So yeah, Yodie Gang knows they've got a mismatched fight, and the Yomi Tanuki should be able to step up here. But OgiBre's debating on going back to base to stop the split push? Yeah, he backs for it.
Wow. So BOBA, task successful. Managed to send this Camazotz all the way back. Of course, no teleport to speak of. So, wow, 1 split push. And that is it for the Yomi Tanuki. I'm not sure if they still have 2 minutes on this Fire Giant, but they're back into base, spending up their gold. I'm not sure they'll have time to make another sustained push. So I was a little bit concerned for the Yodie Gang when that fight initially went so badly. I thought it could have been the end of the game instead of a Fire Giant take for the Tanuki. But instead, this game has been extended a bit longer.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of like the chess implications, right? Because BOBA goes right. OgiBre considers backing. He does. That's the best case scenario for Yodie Gang, right? They get a tier 2, they back up, nothing happens. But if BOBA even goes in for the Phoenix, which sure he might have, you got a 5v4 with 2 runic bombs, you get the better Phoenix, and then you can just push out right afterwards. Someone has to go all the way over to left to defend fire minions, and you can go in for EFG. But it doesn't work out that way. Now OgiBre's on the left side of the map. The rest of the team wants this last tier 2 tower, and it seems like Yodie Gang's going for a soft defense here. No way they continue, but a beautiful pulls in LaRevolution, but got to get the beads down. Now Yemoja in a little bit of trouble if FrenchEmperor can stick up.
Yeah, FrenchEmperor sticking around, was actually keeping a very close eye on BOBA. This Nemesis, very happy to split push. Ooh, a stun there onto Pikarino, and a charged Final Judgment, but the range pretty good, but not good enough to catch out Pikarino. Now Fire Giant is about to despawn. All tier 2 towers wiped off the map on the side of the Yodie Gang, so we will be going again, it seems. And I do wonder what lessons have been learned. When you've seen fight go one way around Fire Giant, now it's gone the other way. How do you counteract this chess match? Because one thing that's very relevant, Pikarino has that alternate timeline back online.
Is the cooldown already done? Wow, I was gonna say that usually.
It's gonna be soon, right?
Yeah, no, 1:30. Okay, I was gonna say that it is still a pretty good cooldown, but if you're stalling it out, yeah, I would wait for it at this point, right? Like,
yeah.
It's such a bait when BOBA uses his last dash to go in to finish that kill. Then it's not a kill, and in fact, you just have a revive, and of course, Pikarino just does so much damage. So I'd be looking to just wait for that. There is still LaRevolution's beads down for like 55 seconds. Maybe that has some sort of opening for you, but it doesn't even seem like EFG is going to spawn by that point. So you set up for an ambush, you get some ward vision down, and then you go in for the EFG when you can. That's the best idea at this point, but you got to think about how last fight went, because BOBA goes in, gets the ultimate off of StreakUp, not as worth as what FrenchEmperor did to PrettyPriMe, and he's the confirmation. So I'll be looking at the junglers for sure during this next engagement.
Yeah, these single pick assassins always have a tough time in these late game stages. When everyone's grouped together, you really don't have the time to take down a kill. That's maybe the only weakness of Nemesis right now. You need at least a couple of shots to manage to finish off a target. So, okay, like you said, eyes have to be on both junglers and the movement paths they take. But I do just wonder if someone's going to go for it and maybe pull this Fire Giant. It looks like Yodie Gang currently have the territory.
They certainly do. 5 runic bombs in play. And we're talking about ults that can confirm this Fire Giant. The runic bombs have to be in that conversation as well. 3 of which on the side of Tanuki. 2 of which Calvin's been holding since like 15 minutes.
They gotta be heavy, man. like a runic bomb, that can't be weightless.
This man has not warded since 15 minutes, give or take. So he's like, you guys are lucky that I have these bombs, or else there'd be so much vision on the map currently. But you're right, it's the Yodie Gang. They're stepping forward. Remember, they still do have the sustain from the Yemoja. Those beats that were down, they're back up at this point. LaRevolution has no fear in stepping forward, but no one going in for the pull yet. Just wait for Prime. But the NATO connects. That's some good damage. Yomi Tanuki should step up here.
Oh, they're going for it. There's the blink ult from Calvin. There's the beads from LaRevolution. This time, SunTzuDisciple does drop that Desert Fury and saves those purification beads. Of course, Anhur ult, not quite so impactful later on, and that's a lot expended from the Yomi Tanuki. Oh, a good riptide onto Calvin. Is this Cerberus now? Half HP. LaRevolution, also half HP. Takes the brunt of damage, and man, we're at a stalemate again. I'm not sure who gets the advantage here.
And that's the issue. When you don't get a Phoenix down, there's no reason for anyone to go. But FrenchEmperor goes into Prime.
Just goes right onto Prime, gets the pull. Fire Giant wants to get involved. SunTzuDisciple very low on OgiBre will take them down. LaRevolution in. LaRevolution back out. But BOBA cannot survive despite the River's Rebuke. Spirit of the Nine Winds used also. But overall, the Yomi Tanuki come out on top.
They're going to grab themselves an enhanced Fire Giant, and Yodie Gang has to back up here. You got Prime, you got Seagyll. That's the only damage that you have to try and defend the rest of these Phoenixes for 40 seconds as the Tanuki push forward. They've got EFG regen. Should not be a problem, as FrenchEmperor did go back to base. But more importantly, PrettyPrime's beads down for a solid minute and a half. One stun under this Thoth and the game could be over.
Well, game over is what the Yomi Tanuki are looking for. Looking to run straight down this mid lane, take advantage of the lack of respawns coming through. Still long respawn timers for the rest of the Yodie Gang. There goes just
the bombs are gone.
Bombs in existence.
Huge.
That was 3 runic bombs used onto a Phoenix there. That one's definitely dead. Can the left one fall down too? Yes, it shall. By virtue of this enhanced Fire Giant, Yomi Tanuki happy with their claim. Gonna back up to the Oni Fury.
That was about the same speed that the second one dropped. Like 3 runic bombs and then just regular auto attacks. It was that's what you were saving those for, Calvin. But hey, you know what? I will say, he saved a lot of gold not warding in that time, and that's why he's got full build Cerberus, whereas LaRevolution took a little bit longer to get there. But now just back up, grab the beacon one more time. OgiBre does have Bat Out of Hell, so shouldn't be in too much trouble. If anything, is trying to defend the Pyromancer, but yeah, he got it. I was going to say, does he steal that away? And he most certainly did.
And he does steal it away. The bees again stolen away from LaRevolution. OgiBre going in on this. 1 versus 5 because the backup is on the way. Now there's the River's Rebuke comes out. OgiBre, this bat out of the fight. But now Seagyll trying to fight back against Pikarino. The damage isn't particularly high though. LaRevolution will get back to safety somehow. OgiBre goes completely unpunished for that.
Yeah, I mean, the Bat Out of Hell I thought was going to be a defensive tool there, but ended up just swooping in because the rest of the team was on the way. You got fire minions, you got Oni fire minions, and then you have regular Oni minions all pushing forward. That right lane is still the target. 2 more minutes on Enhanced Fire Giant, and the Yomi Tanuki would love to break this base in its entirety. And when Kukulkan is in play, you can end the game in positions like this very easily. You drop that tornado, you hit your poly shot, send the ult out, and Titan could just evaporate at that point. So Yodie Gang need to play as defensively as possible. A pick could easily lose the game here. You need to be setting up ambushes around corners or just hiding in your base and waiting for the engage. Take a look at Relics. Calvin's blink is coming up. It is available now, and he's been the one starting off these fights.
37 minutes in, 13 kills to 17. This will be the last stand for the Yodie Gang. Have fire minions still to contend within 2 lanes. The Yomi Tanuki can choose to go in whenever they want. They choose to go onto LaRevolution. Calvìn takes a chunk of damage. Boba's in. Boba commits to the fight, sends FrenchEmperor to the sky, but will pay for it with their life. There's the blink from OgiBre. Fantastic juke come out, but it's not enough. The Phoenix still stands tall, but now it's a 4 versus 5. It is a tall task for the Yodie Gang.
Yeah, PrettyPriMe takes a lot of damage from the NATO there, and OgiBre sieges forward onto Seagyll. Does he go for the ultimate? Yes, but Aegis and the heals from Yemoja should be enough. Last bird goes down. Does the Yomi Tanuki look for the end call? It seems like they want it.
Space is being created. PrettyPriMe still can't fire off that final judgment. I feel like I've heard that charge so many times, but I haven't actually seen it fired off. There is another Desert Fury on the left-hand side. FrenchEmperor goes onto SunTzuDisciple, gets the Aegis out. Seagyll goes in onto Pikarino, but the Titan now getting targeted out by the Yomi Tanuki. Calvìn commits to it, as does Pikarino. LaRevolution throws up the walls to defend. Deflected away for a moment are the Yomi Tanuki, but they don't have the damage. They're just not locking down these targets, and nobody's still falling down for the Yomi Tanuki.
Wow, I mean, the Tanuki play that one real safe. You've got beads, Aegis, and alternate timeline on an EFG Cuckoo with a red buff, and ult is still available. I'm probably going in for the end call, but I understand the fear. I understand you don't want to drop this game, and you have plenty of time to just back up and go in for another siege if that is the play call. And it seems to be just that. 2 Phoenixes could be spawning here shortly, though. Yodie Gang have left and mid, essentially on the same timer. All the while, the Yomi Tanuki are a bit split up at the moment. You've got Calvìn and StreakUp on the left side of the map. The rest of the squad over towards EFG. Doesn't seem like they're fearful of Yodie Gang stepping up around any corners, because they're all over in base, just trying to keep these Phoenixes alive.
Yeah, it actually feels like since that enhanced fire giant, Yomi Tanuki are actually now worse off. Both Phoenixes on the left and mid are up for the Yodie Gang. It's just the right lane Phoenix, the easier one to defend. It does seem like the Yodie Gang can't actually step up, but you know, the Yomi Tanuki played it safe on the end call, and I mean, maybe a little bit too safe, because now they are exactly where they were a few moments ago.
There is still 1 wave of fire minions over and left, so the Yodie Gang would have to go back and defend it, unless they just don't care about that bird and they want to go in for EFG. Remember, Runic Bomb's in play. Still 2 on the side of Yodie Gang, and already it's half health.
Half HP. It's half. PrettyPriMe is here, though. PrettyPrime's within range. Gets stunned out, though, and has to beads out.
No
and
ult!
now it's in trouble, but OgiBre will fall down. FrenchEmperor goes up into the powwow. Gets onto LaRevolution, but there come the beads. Calvìn is ready. Boba taken down by StreakUp. I hear the final judgment. I don't see it connecting, though. And PrettyPriMe has to retreat. Now it is 4 versus 4, but 1-4 has the enhanced fire giant. Tanuki going down the mid lane again.
Fire minions already on the Titan. Left side bird drop down, and mid Phoenix is not long for this world. This time around, you gotta just go in and drop some damage on the Titan. But LaRevolution ult tries to get out. Doesn't seem like he's making it, and he's gone.
Lifted to the sky, sent down into the grave. It's 2. Make that 3 versus the world. Never mind, it is 2, because there goes PrettyPriMe. SunTzuDisciple doing what they can, but they cannot do any more. The Yomi Tanuki take the set in 2.
I mean, this one was more back and forth. It was definitely a scrap. Yodie Gang, they were getting so many Furies. They were falling down a bit in gold, but then it was just these fights after fights were consistent damage, and you got to give shouts out to FrenchEmperor. Loved the start to these engagements. The dodge was on point, and also StreakUp just like soloed Boba in that last engagement. It seemed like a pretty even scrap towards EFG, and then you just look in the back, you're like, oh, you just stummed down a Nemesis and Critter twice. Like, that's gonna be the easiest fight in the world. So not bad at all. Was very impressed with the Tanuki this time around.
Yeah, so close there for the Yodie Gang. If that fight goes even slightly differently, if StreakUp does fall there to Boba, all of a sudden we could see this game turn all the way back around. But it does not. That was that for the Yodie Gang. They did so well, though, in game number 2. You know, game number 1 felt like they fell behind early and really struggled to fight back into it. I mean, by virtue of FrenchEmperor just getting such a good start on the Susano. But turning that dodgy 0-2 at the start of the game really helped them out.
It certainly did, and that's the kind of engagement you need to have, especially when Worlds is on your mind, right? That is what this tournament is trying to lead up to. So, Yodie Gang, a good performance from them, but the Tanuki are showing that they've got one singular goal, and it's, you know, that World at the end of the tunnel.
That's it for this set for now. Let's go back to the desk to break it all down.
That's right, the Yomi Tanuki will find their victory over Yodie Gang, eliminating the SOC team, and now moving on further alongside their group to see if they can find their spot in qualifying up into Group C to then try and qualify up and towards the world stage. But a good performance here out of Yomi Tanuki, though a shaky start, at least for the Yomi Tanuki squad. Took a little bit of time for this dodgy to really kind of get rolling. The Camazotz kind of struggled a little bit over into the solo lane, but once we kind of got to the late game, it really felt like some of that lack of CC that you bring up on the initial desk, at least for this team for Yodie Gang, really started to kind of shine towards that late game.
And I will say for Yodie Gang, and to their benefit, they play very well throughout the early. This was back and forth for the first 20 or so minutes. Kills were largely even. Goldie never really extended past that 1,000 mark. But by the time team fight phase started to roll through, that's where some of the issues started to develop. And as you said, a lot of it through off the back of lacking CC. Some of it maybe in just coordination.
Now, as we take a look at our bracket here for this group, in Group A, we do have Yomi Tanuki moving forward, and will now be awaiting the loser of the next match to see who will have that second chance at the qualifier. Hex Mambo and Olympus Bolts will have their matchup in order to see who's going to be the first team of this group to qualify up into Group number C, or Group letter C, I guess is the better way to put that. And then the loser of that one will face Yomi Tanuki, so a chance for redemption for the Yomi Tanuki. If the Olympus Bolts do lose to Mambo, that will be a rematch within the bracket. If Hex Mambo lose, obviously then they let's go for a face-off there, try and compete for that qualification. So now 2 more rounds to go, and only 2 teams to qualify out of Group A, and see exactly who will move on in towards that second round of it. But this Camazotz OgiBre was able to get active fairly early throughout the map. It's not very often that we're seeing solo laners 10 minutes into the game going over towards duo lane, but starting to see at least a little bit more action from the solo laners early outside of their own lane.
Yeah, OgiBre, of course, makes those rotations, but Seagyll as well makes a few, just doesn't quite have as much impact on the Raijin throughout the early game, whereas OgiBre, I mean, you see it there, all that damage output, the willingness to dive, clearly putting Yomi Tanuki in a decent position around that 10-minute mark. Otherwise, top to bottom, I really liked what Tanuki had brought. FrenchEmperor had great Pal-Out placement, felt like he was making it really difficult for some of the squishier targets on Yodie Gang to even approach the fight. Something the casters had brought up was all that poke potential that Yodie Gang had. PrettyPriMe throwing out damage on the Thoth, or SunTzu even doing it as well to a certain extent. But anytime they stepped maybe 1-2 steps out of line, FrenchEmperor was there, Trickster Spirit, all right, there's 50% of your HP, match up exactly what you just done to my own backline. The all-in potential and the execution of it from Yomi Tanuki was just great.
I gotta give shots to Pikarino again on the Kukulkan. It's starting to really find its home, at least here in the EU meta, for these mid lane spots. Maybe doesn't have quite the kill potential some of the other mages have, but just that consistent damage from the tornado, the secure around objectives more than anything, has really started to shine through with this Kukulkan. So excited to see maybe where this Kukulkan lines out for the rest of these teams, and maybe over the course of here, and even maybe towards NA, because it really does feel like at the moment EU is really starting to throw some favor towards that god. I wonder if we see some of that reflected into next week's matchups as well.
I mean, it's high damage output. It does itemize well. Book of Thoth meta, Kukulkan generally follows suit, but I still am concerned with how it's going to deal with maybe some of the global presence. That's what we saw in the SPL, was this overemphasis on globals. Every team had at least one. Feels like Kukulkan can struggle in situations like that.
Well, we can take a look now at Group B's bracket, because we just had our matchup over in Group A at the very least. You can kind of see the road that has happened so far for these squads. Remember, we had the Scarabs win out a little bit earlier on in our week just yesterday, same with the Niflheim Wargs, but you can already see, and do have to give a little bit of a note here, Tartarus Titans and the Penguins match will not actually be broadcast. Unfortunately, that matchup was a forfeit and will end up going the way of the Tartarus Titans, who will now move themselves on into the bracket. So we will be having one less set of SMITE today, and instead we will now have a small little pivot in our schedule. Instead, we'll be having the Solar Scarabs and the Niflheim Wargs be our next matchup to be played instead. So make sure you stick around and tune in for that set. So an unfortunate for the Penguins going out into the tournament via forfeit, but for Tartarus Titans now having that next chance up to see who their opponent will be. And again, another chance for that rematch there. If we do see the Niflheim Wargs fall to the Solar Scarabs, could be getting that Wargs Titans rematch and maybe a second shot of redemption here for the Tartarus Titans.
Yeah, Tartarus Titans untested now since having lost the Niflheim Wargs, but still a team you got to keep your eyes on. A lot of names that you would recognize: the Stemix, Masskill, Zany, Baku, and ACD. We'll be able to catch up with them a little bit later on this week. But as you said, Solar Scarabs versus the Wargs, I'm really excited for that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of big names on here. You look at Deathwalker, Zero, Silence, the massive squad over for the Solar Scarabs, Niflheim Wargs. You have Worst Turtle, Gunter, Preds. These guys have been around the scene for a long time over in the USCC. Some of them, even for a couple of players, have had their time up at the SPL stand. If you look over towards the side of the Solar Scarab. So very excited to see how this matchup is going to go down between the two, because these are the number 2 and 3 coming from at least their SCC time, kind of now facing off. So we'll have to see how these two teams can really duke it out in their matchup coming up immediately after that one. So we'll have, once again, the Solar Scarabs and the Niflheim Wargs will be our next matchup. So stick around, and we'll be right back.